Welcome to the Flip Your Life podcast, the go-to podcast for anyone who wants to flip their life and their financial future through real estate. My name is Riley Pilgrim, and today, once again, I have Vaughn Bethell on the show to talk about the importance of diversification of your portfolio in real estate and how that should or shouldn't play in, how you should think about those things. So welcome, Vaughn.
What's up? What's up?
All right. So we'll just jump right into it, man. First question I have for you today is, what do you think, or not think, whichever way you want to go, is the importance of diversification in real estate?
Well, we've always heard you never want to have all your eggs in one basket.
Sure.
Right? So if you're relying on one exit strategy or one type of asset class in your portfolio, what if something happens to that? Right?
Yeah.
Then you could potentially lose everything, right? Or it can make it really, really tough on you. Right. So being able to diversify, and for us as investors, and exit strategies from properties that we acquire, but also as we build our portfolio. I have a colleague. He's actually a really good friend of mine, but we don't live, in the same city. We talk a couple times a year, but I feel like we have a great connection. But he's been doing this for a long time, and he has this what he calls cash now, cash flow, and cash later.
I like that.
And a lot of people think that there's different types of revenue coming in, but it's also a little bit of a diversification because that cash now can be one exit strategy, cash flow is another exit strategy, and cash later is a third exit strategy.
That's interesting.
Right? So it puts a different little twist on portfolio diversification.
Yeah, it's instead of necessarily diversifying what asset class you're doing, if I'm thinking about this correctly, you're diversifying the types of income you're creating for yourself.
Exactly.
And by nature of doing that, you're going to be diversifying, in a way that's going to protect you in the same kind of way if there's a market downturn. Because, let's say your cash now stops because whatever the active income thing that gets squashed. Well, you still have cash flow, you still have equity for cash later, right?
Yep.
And then if one of those other ones flop, the other two three-legged stool stands.
Exactly. And that perfectly describes our one exit strategy, right?
Okay.
So with our rent-to-own program or Pathway to Home Ownership program, owner financing, that's exactly how it operates, right? So we get a down payment or an option fee. That's cash now. We get monthly cash flow when they pay rent or pay their mortgage.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. And then cash later is the equity that we have in the property based on what we sold it to them for and the money that we have in it.
Wow. Okay. Right. And so if I understand that last part correctly, from previous episodes, you have a lower basis in the property than what you're going to sell it for, obviously, because there's some margin there. And so whenever they either refinance you out or they sell the home and have to pay you off or whatever the case may be, you got the cash now from the down payment, you got the cash flow from the rent or mortgage, and you got the cash later from them paying off your loan.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
So, and that's in one exit strategy.
That's one exit strategy.
Right.
It's like an Inception, three-legged stool inside of a three-legged stool kind of situation.
So imagine if I take that over across multiple exit strategies. So I have my rent-to-own owner finance exit strategy, which I get the three, cash now, cash flow, and cash later. But if my primary active business was flipping, that's primarily cash now.
Sure.
Right? But if I took that active income, that cash I was generating through flipping, and I invested in something like a multifamily syndication.
Oh, see?
Right? That's cash flow.
Yep.
And cash later.
So you had the cash now, used it for cash flow and cash later.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be a multifamily syndication. It can be commercial or industrial property. Okay. It can be self-storage. It can be a number of different asset classes that I can invest in. Right.
Interesting. That's a unique way to think about portfolio diversification.
Yep.
We kind of answered my second question a little bit because I was going to ask you a little bit about what you think about people doing different property types.
Yep.
I guess you kind of alluded to it, but do you have do you think people should focus on trying to mix up the property types that they're investing in, or do you think it should kind of whatever is your meat and potatoes, that's what you focus on?
Well, it all depends on, like you said, active versus passive investing.
Okay.
Right. If I'm passive investing, I don't mind investing in different property types.
Okay.
Right. So asset classes, whether that's single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial, self-storage, whatever. Right.
Okay.
Because I don't have to.
You don't have to understand.
I don't have to understand it. I don't have to be an expert in it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I'm going to do as my active income and my active investing on a daily basis, I want to really, really understand it, right? So the reason our primary exit strategy is that pathway to home ownership, not only are we having an impact that has that purpose-driven component behind it, but when I first got into the real estate investing industry, one of my mentors told me that I want you to focus, right? Very early on, I want you to focus. And the acronym he used for focus, follow one course until successful.
Oh, that's
right?
Cool. Yeah.
So if I was trying to learn how to wholesale and then also learn to build a rental portfolio and also learn how to flip and do all those things at the same time, I'm spreading my energy and effort across 3 different things. So that I can only really give one of those things 33% of my energy.
Sure.
So it allows me to go wide, but not deep or far. But if I can give 100% of my energy and effort to one thing, and for me, 6 years ago, it was wholesaling.
Yep.
I got really, really good at wholesaling or finding off-market properties, getting in touch with the seller and negotiating that property for a really good price, right? And that led to many other opportunities moving forward.
I like it. Man, that is that's just a unique way to think about diversification. You know, and especially when you get into the asset of real estate, there's different ways to do it. It's not as cookie cutter as, you know, a lot of kind of old school financial advisors may have had people think. It's not just choosing all these different asset classes. It's thinking about money a little bit differently and thinking about how you can have these different flows of money that are based on different economic conditions. So if one condition changes, all of your money doesn't just dry up. That sounds like it's what you're kind of saying is one of the more important aspects of diversification.
Exactly. And you don't want to be stuck in that spot where we used to call it a one-trick pony, right? So growing up playing soccer and playing at a high level, you had those guys that did the same move, right? All the time. They were masters of that one move, but it became predictable. Right.
You see it, you know it's going to happen.
Yeah. And so that took their competitive advantage away. Whereas if you're in just one niche or one exit strategy or one, thing of or one asset class of your portfolio, if something happens in that asset class or in that exit strategy or to come in and affect that, then you're up the creek without a paddle.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So diversification is key in most everything. But it doesn't have to be as complicated as people make it out to be.
Sure.
Right. So you can still be focused and have a niche. But if I'm using this to generate active cash flow or cash, I want to be able to generate as much cash as I can so I can then take that cash and invest it in other asset classes that are more passive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then one thing I didn't mention as far as another way to diversify your portfolio and your cash is private lending.
Okay.
Right? So it's not directly in the asset class, but it's lending to other investors and letting your money make money for you.
Yep, I love that. That's from what I understand, that is a less known asset class called paper.
Yep.
Right? You're creating paper. You're creating a piece of paper that says this person owes me this amount of money and they're going to pay me X until that's paid off. And a lot of what a lot of people don't realize is paper is an asset in itself.
Absolutely.
You can go sell it. You can do all kind of things.
Yeah, you can sell it. You can go to the bank and get a line of credit against it. So you
can sell part of it.
Exactly.
Crazy. So if you guys listening, for one, if you're looking for a way to diversify whatever you're doing out there, if you have some extra cash and maybe you're busy running a flipping business and you know that you need some cash flow, right? And you don't want to have to go out and learn all the creative finance stuff right now. Maybe you want to learn it, but it's 5 years down the road, whatever the case may be. Use some of that active cash, reach out to Vaughn, and let's see how we can get that money to work now, getting you some cash flow. And while you already have all this cash now, and then you never know, maybe there's some ways y'all can team up, get cash later, do all that stuff. So, and
there's actually, when it comes to the lending standpoint, this is a little bit more creative.
Okay.
So this is actually another podcast on its own.
Okay.
But you don't necessarily have to use your active cash too. So I just had a conversation this morning with a lender that is using his HELOC.
Oh, not even his cash.
Not even his cash, the bank's cash and the equity he has in his home to lend to us. So he has
he's getting higher
that he's paying to his bank to have access to that line of credit or have access to that equity. He's lending to us at a higher interest rate, and he's making the spread.
Beautiful.
So there's no better money than money you make from using other people's money.
That's when
right.
you really do become the bank, because now you're arbitraging the bank's money.
Yep.
Bank's lending you money at, pretend it's at 7%.
Yep.
They lend it to you at some other percent that's higher than that.
Yep.
And they get to keep the difference. And it may be lower than if they had all the cash themselves, but it's not their cash they had to take. And
so they get an infinite return, infinite cash on cash return.
That's cool.
Because they have no cash in it.
I love it, man.
So, and we can do a whole nother episode on that. But
we probably need to do
there's a lot of creative ways that you can use to lend. And when I say lend, it's really partnering with people, right? Because when you lend to a private or a real estate investor and you do private lending, multiple people are winning, right? So it's really a partnership. So by you lending, your money is making money, right? By the investor borrowing, they're able to get into an opportunity that helps them make money. And in our case, we're selling to that person that needs non-traditional financing, and a traditional bank won't give them an opportunity. So we're helping them win by giving them an opportunity and a foot in the door. Yep.
And so it literally is, not to be cliche, but it literally is a win-win-win scenario.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, guys, that's all we have for you today. Once again, as you know, please like, subscribe, share, do all the things to help the content reach more people. It is helpful. It takes half a second. But also stay tuned for further episodes. Like you said, we have more coming. We're going to deep dive on individual, more specific topics as the seasons go on. So,
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace out.